Hi, I'm Kayla Sinai, and I'm going to be answering the first creative critical reflection. So, the question is, how does your project use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? I'm going to be answering this by splitting it up into two questions. So, the first part is, how does your film opening represent social groups or issues? So, for starters, our MPAA age rating is an age rating of PG-13 because our target audience is primarily high schoolers, and we would want those high schoolers to see this movie without having to go with their parents. We would rather want them to go with their friends. We almost had it rated R because we had more than one curse word that was used inappropriately, but we bleeped some, so we got the PG-13 rating. The next is our production company. So our production company is very kind of silly and fun, kind of what the whole premise of the movie was supposed to be. So it's a lighthearted production group like us. And there's two titles in the opening sequence, which is the production company in the beginning and the title sequence in the end. So our establishing shot is a tracking shot. So as you can see, first it pans on Eden in the red shirt, and she's kind of just storming out, and then the camera turns all the way over to Mary, to Susan and Catherine arguing, and it stays like that for the whole first kind of scene of it until it goes to the flashback. So this is how the genre, which is comedy, is signaled throughout the mise-en-scène, lighting, narrative, and sound. So for the mise-en-scène, during the first kind of part you see, the set is all messed up and it's a mess. So you can see on the table there in the first photo, there's cards there, there's cards on the floor. You can kind of see a chair on a chair flipped over on one of the couches. And so it's really supposed to be a mess, but when you go to the flashback, which is supposed to be before this happened, you see a very clean area. If you see in the first photo on the couch, there's a chair flipped over. That's not there in the second photo to show it's very organized. And for the lighting, during the current moment, it's dark and it's which kind of foreshadows how the problems arise as the lighting is darker and there's more problems, but in the bright it's happy, it's daylight, so there's no problems and everyone's fine with each other. So continuing on, for the sound you kind of see the same thing. Before they start to play, it's just happy music. When they're passing out the cards, just Uno music you would do, just a very good vibe overall. But once you get to the actual sound, when you actually get to the game right before they start, everyone's kind of looking at each other. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of suspense building up. Everyone's kind of looking at each other and trying to figure how each other's poker faces throughout their personalities and how they communicate that. And for the narrative, basically, the characters their actions are throughout how they act. So going back to the scene where people are looking there and they're looking around right before the game starts when they're holding their cards, you can kind of see in their eyes what they're doing and what their actions are based on their characters. So for example, Catherine's character is very jealous, so she's kind of trying to look around at other people's cards, see their reactions instead of focusing on hers. These are the stereotypes presented. So Eden, who is played by In Fan, wears red and she's very angry person and she's mad all the time. Mary wears blue and you can kind of see her sad and crying in the corner, and that really represents her character, and she is played by Mariana Lopez. Susan is played by Sarah Haroon, and she's wearing yellow because of her happy personality. And then my name is Kayla Sinai, and I played Catherine, who is wearing green because she's very a vengeful person. She's very jealous of other people. So for the credits, we decided to do everyone in the beginning. So we decided to put the actors together in the beginning, and then it was followed by the director of photography, the producer, the camera operator, the music supervisor and stuff like that. But for the director, we put it in the end after the title sequence. So speaking about the title, I think this is a very important part of the film, and it really like characterizes the film. So first, as you can see in the first picture, it just would say Uno, and it just that which is the first part of the title, and it's kind of in the classic yellow Uno color. But then all of a sudden, just outbursts, and then all the letters of Uno like scramble out, which is really to say how like chaotic the movie is supposed to be. Which is how like kind of the film title represents the movie. So this is the second part, which is how does your film opening represent social groups or issues? So based on our the social groups featured, it's really like girls who are like this is a very stereotyped character. Like all these characters are very very heavily stereotyped, and there are like teenage girls in high school and stuff like that. So they're kind of similar status, but they obviously have different personalities and very different like ways of kind of growing up, and that really shows in their character, and it would show throughout the movie. Because if we were to do an extended version, it would constantly be flashbacks to things that happened before that showed their true colors and try to dig deep and like destroy these stereotypes. But at the first, it's very stereotyped. So, for example, for Eden, I made like Pinterest boards, kind of like characterize all the characters into one into one color based on how they act. So for Eden, it's the very like red. She's the villain, pushes people away, that type of person. For Mary, she's very emotional. She gets sad. She cries easily. Kind of represented by the blues and the like the hues that kind of make people sad. Susan, she's very happy. Her character would have shown throughout the film that she grew up in a very like good environment, and she never really had anything bad happen to her. And then Catherine is very vengeful. Like, she definitely like backstabbed people like before, but really, I think well, the whole purpose of the movie, if you dig deeper, would be like these issues, which is like these very surface level issues, if you see someone once, you kind of think you know them as a whole, which is really not true. If you think of someone, if you like meet someone at first, or you think of someone a certain way, that's not really who they act, and they really have a deeper personality outside of that like one stereotype you might put them in as.